Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we have another Gun Gripe episode for you, and believe it or not, it's actually some good news for a change, which in this environment you would think that there is no help coming for people like us in the gun community, but we do have some great news to share from GOA on the bump stock lawsuit. We'll get on that here in a second. I would like to take a moment to thank our awesome friends at Sonoran Desert Institute for supporting Gun Gripes. If you're interested in a career in gunsmithing technology, learning more about ways to have a career in the gun industry, primarily in the technology field, they're a great resource to check out. And we appreciate them supporting Gun Gripes. They do accept GI Bill and other forms of financial aid. Really great group of people. They're growing really in strides, and we're happy to see them being real successful and teaching people and kind of bringing the next group of gunsmiths up in our community. So good on them for that. Check them out. Okay, so we have to definitely give big props to Gun Owners of America for putting in some really great legwork on this lawsuit. So this comes from the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and here we've got some news pulled up here from GOA. Sorry, I clicked the wrong tab.
There we go.
Go ahead, Chad.
All right.
Let them know.
This was on March 25th, 2021. Today, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit reversed the district court's decision, which had denied GOA's motion for a preliminary injunction on bump stocks. Gun Owners of America is seeking an injunction to prevent the ATF from implementing a final rule incorrectly classifying bump stocks as machine guns under federal law. If you guys recall, Trump, during his tenure, did not like bump stocks. He said, I'm going to direct the ATF to look at those. So he did so, and the ATF looked at bump stocks, and they issued a ruling on them, and they incorrectly classified them as machine guns, which they are physically not machine guns. That's why they were approved initially under the Obama administration, under Obama's ATF back in, like the early 2010s. But they're not physically machine guns. Everyone knew that. Everyone argued that. But the rule went into place, and bump stocks were banned on a federal level. Okay? So now what we have is a federal court saying that, no, they are in fact not machine guns. Therefore, they eventually will probably not be banned any longer because the ATF is shown that they can't just arbitrarily rule something, this, that, or the other, and change the law, without the actual congressional process that we're accustomed to. They can't just make up a law at the director's desk and say, you know what, I'm just going to sign this napkin, and here we go. You can't have this anymore.
Absolutely. So in a lot of the earlier videos, that was some of our concerns that we were expressing, was the issue of a president using executive fiat in order to establish any form of gun control, right? Mm-hmm. That goes completely against the checks and balances of the way that laws are passed. So that was the issue. If the bump stock ban were to stand, let's just say, right, that would set forth a very deadly and distinctive precedent so that future presidents can go, oh, well, I don't like this, bye. I don't like that, bye. And basically using executive fiat in the replacement of, proper lawmaking. Mm-hmm. And that's just not the way laws are passed in this country. They have to go through, the House and the Senate, and they have to go through a process. I mean, there's an entire process to how laws have to be passed. Now, we are going to get into this on a future Gun Gripe, but I do want to just briefly mention that right now, as we're on the heels of this very, very minor victory, and mind you, this is not even like a humongous victory, but I don't want to downplay it because, Eric Pratt and Jordan and Tim Military Arms Channel, all the folks that were involved in this have done a great job in being visible and, fighting for our rights, right? Mm-hmm. GOA, FPC, those guys are doing a heck of a job, right? So big props to them. I'm not downplaying how good of a thing this is. However, in the big scheme of things, you do have to look at the fact that right now they're trying to nuke the filibuster. Mm-hmm. We are going to get into a full episode on that, so I'm not going to get into that. But just know that they're trying to change the rules. Like, the anti-gunners always want to try to change the rules in their favor so they can win using whatever means that they deem necessary. To them, the end always justifies the means, no matter how bad it may look, right? Mm-hmm. So when it's something that they don't care about, or they're very much against it. Oh, we have to, if there's a Republican majority, we have to have the filibuster and this and that. And then when it's a razor thin majority, we need the filibuster nuked. But it's like, so they're all about using whatever means necessary to accomplish their goals, and that's what's really scary about the anti-gunner side. I mean, this is kind of going down a tiny separate rabbit hole, but look at all of the political contributions for this last presidential campaign, and I believe it was Facebook was actually the #1 company in terms of Democratic campaign contributions. Now, think about that. And you look at that list of campaign contributions, and you've got, Boeing, and you've got, Lockheed Martin, and you've got Kellogg, Brown and Root, and who are these, the military-industrial complex pumps a lot of money into these campaigns because they know that whoever, if their candidate they supported becomes president, well then, obviously they're going to get those nice big fat contracts and everything like that. Well, not to go down this rabbit hole, but then you look at Zuckerberg and the congressional scrutiny that he was under and the whole congressional hearings over all of this censorship and all this stuff going on, right? So what favors does Mark Zuckerberg owe? That he ended up being the top Democratic campaign contributor, right? So what favors does he owe Biden? What does Biden owe him? Like, what's going on here, right? And then you look at, not to get down this rabbit hole, but I feel like it's important to mention.
Go ahead.
When you look at all of this stuff happening, like, okay, guys are getting like account strikes on YouTube. Facebook is, like just the other day, Mr. Guns and Gear's Facebook page, again, got unpublished just a few days ago, right? You notice on Instagram, tons of people have started getting pictures pulled for the most arbitrarily dumb reasons that you could ever imagine, right? Like where previously, myself, for instance, on Instagram, never even had a single Instagram post pulled. For years. I've been on Instagram for like 8 years. Never had a post pulled until January 7th. So what changed? Right? Who owes who? Who's directing who to do whatever it is against the political dissentents that they so choose to go, we're trying to pass this gun control legislation, right? Well, we need these people that are being a thorn in our side to go away. We need you to make something happen. So the issue is you get into Section 230, okay, and yes, a private company, a private entity, they don't have to respect your First Amendment rights in regards to freedom of speech, okay? I get it. They don't have to bake the cake. All right, fine, whatever, okay? The issue, though, then becomes if there's ever proof, and of course this is conjecture here, but if there's ever proof that the Biden administration somehow called in a favor or directed those social media companies to do XYZ, like I discussed, then they will be liable to legal action. Because that's a completely different bag of apples, right? If if the government tells you, hey, do this, if you're directed to do this, and then you use your platform to arbitrarily apply, unfair rules and regulations to people on your platform at the direction of a government who is beholden to your constitutional rights. And I think that as the spaghetti rolls down the wall and we see what ends up sticking, I think that if I were a betting man, which I'm not, I would almost be willing to bet that years down the road, and I hope it's not terribly long, we may not be around much longer if they keep banning us and shadow banning us and demonetizing us and all this. But as the rubber meets the road and we start to look into our crystal ball, and if I could see the future, I would almost surmise that it's quite possible. I'm not going to say it is because I don't know, but I would say that it's highly probable that could be the case.
Well, it starts with censorship, and then it ends with dissidents being packed into trains and sent off to concentration camps. I mean, let's just put it out there like that. I mean, but we've talked about it in previous videos. With the bump stock ordeal. Okay, everybody. When we first started hearing about this, everybody said, "Oh, I don't really care about bump stocks. Oh, I don't really use one. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect my hunting gun, right?" All right, so we talked about all this. We talked about how banning bump stocks would set a dangerous precedent. All right, so if the bump stock ban was upheld, say the court decided, bump stocks are a machine gun. Well, okay, at that point, you can just say, well, the science doesn't matter. The mechanics don't matter. What we say
Facts
matters.
don't matter.
Okay? So
Logic and reason don't matter.
At that point, we talked about it before with some of the legislation that was coming down the pipeline, a couple of years ago, about like banning certain accessories and things, like triggers that make you shoot faster, okay? So, I mean, if you wanted to put like a Geisley Super 3-gun trigger in your AR to get a little bit faster split times, okay, your firearm is still semi-automatic, but that trigger is allowing you to shoot just slightly faster to maybe gain a little bit of edge on your competition, okay? Look at Jerry Michalik, all right? He has extremely fast split times, but they're part of that, split time that he has is in regards to his equipment, okay? Having the proper equipment to be able to get the most out of your performance, okay?
Jerry's Jerry.
But
yeah.
These people would argue that, okay, well, since you put that faster trigger in your gun, now it's a machine gun, when it is physically not the case. But if this bump stock ban would have stood, then that's the kind of stuff that we'd be seeing coming down the pipeline. And this is why we talked about it being so important to the future of just gun ownership in general. And I hope that people now can see that, a lot of us were right, and many people out there who were on the other side of the fence were completely wrong about this. But, I mean, hey, one can dream.
So, okay, all this being said, what does it mean moving forward, all right? What does this establish that is good for gun owners moving forward, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't mean to get too far off on the rabbit hole, guys, but that was on my mind, and I really want to get that off my chest, because I don't want to be labeled as a conspiracy theorist, but if you just look at the facts and the writing on the wall, and you look at the donations and the money, and you always follow the money, and and you could. Well, I don't know, but all right. So I'm going to refer to the statement here. This is off of our friends at Truth About Guns.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so Chevron deference does not apply to agency interpretation of criminal statute. Thus, court does not need to decide whether agency can waive Chevron deference. Therefore, the court must determine best meaning of the statute. The statutory context of single function of the trigger weighs heavily in plaintiff appellate's favor, adopt that our position that it refers to the mechanical process. Look, all of that mumbo jumbo aside, okay, the plain English of this is that essentially a agency cannot just arbitrarily wave a pen and make a law. So that's the issue. Is the ATF can't just say, oh, well, we don't like bump stocks, it's a machine gun because of this reason. That you can't do that without actually changing the law. Yep. So in the same way, right, you've seen all of this battle over the braces and everything. So the sort of implied situation here would be that just like they can't go after bump stocks in the way that they did, they can't also go after braces or binary triggers or any other type of device.
Or what constitutes a firearm in itself. I mean, that's been talked about in the past as well. They're like, hey, we might change the definition of a firearm to include X, Y, Z. Well, this statute here prevents some of that from coming down the pipeline. It prevents the ATF from making those decisions just on a regulatory whim.
It doesn't necessarily prevent them as much as it just sets forth the precedence that when they do it, which they still could, right?
Well, it certainly makes some potholes.
Right, tomorrow, Biden could just say, I'm going to sign an executive order banning this. And yes, he could do that. And yes, the ATF could go, all right, well, that's what the president said. This is what we're going to do. And then they could go arrest people for it. And then once those people are arrested, then yes, once it goes to court, that's the issue. When you look at guys like FPC, they can do a lot, but what they're relying on is, okay, this person was arrested for this, or this person was victimized in this way. Like there's a victim created, or there's a legal situation created where someone needs defense, and then they're going to go after them, right? So it's the same type of thing. It's not going to stop them from saying, hey, in the future, we're going to apply this type of discretion to this for this reason. It doesn't mean that it won't meet some potholes in court later, because then they could go, well, guys, remember the Sixth Circuit Court? This is what they said. Now, unless it went to, maybe later, it went to a higher court, right? Like, so say it went to the Supreme Court, and say the Supreme Court somehow decided something different than that court. Well, then the lower court's decision, as I understand it, would be shot down by the Supreme Court's decision, right? That's how that works,
I
right?
believe so, yeah.
A lower court, even though, yes, there is a weight politically and legally to that decision, ultimately the Supreme Court decision would hold more legal weight, more legal water, so to speak, in that cup.
It does.
And there are things that the Supreme Court is actually hearing. So today's Tuesday. Tomorrow, the Supreme Court is beginning to hear oral arguments on this whole issue. I'd have to pull the Supreme Court case up, but involving the guy that had his guns confiscated without due process, and it wasn't red flag, but it was like a health and safety, like a welfare checkup. And they lied to his wife and ended up telling his wife, oh yeah, he said we could take the guns, it's no big deal. And he had to undergo this long, lengthy legal process to get his firearms back. And right now, the Supreme Court is actually about to hear oral arguments related to whether or not the police even need a warrant to confiscate firearms from your home. And that's on the chopping block right now. So you have to keep your ear to the ground on this stuff.
Warrantless search and seizure.
Yes.
Is what we're discussing.
Correct.
Tyranny.
Well,
you smell that?
And to be fair, and I'm certainly not saying that I agree with warrantless search and seizure, because when you think search and seizure, you think like, all right, someone's coming in your vehicle, your home, like they're coming into your abode, right? In this particular situation, the limitations that I think there was a Supreme Court case from back in the day, they wound up saying that, yes, the police can take firearms under the guise of, let's just say, public health and safety. So bear with me here. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm just saying this is the reason, their reasoning, okay? Just so you know. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm not saying I agree. I'm just saying this is their reason.
These are the facts.
These are the facts. Okay?
We'll be back after
the facts are, so, all right, the police find an abandoned car on the side of the road, okay? Oh, we need to get this off the road because it's a public safety hazard, right? Someone could swerve off the road, hit this vehicle, it's night, whatever, right? That sort of function. All right, policeman checks the doors are locked, looks in there, and there's a Glock 19 with 5 mags or whatever sitting right there in plain view, okay? What would be the better thing to do? Secure that pistol and find the owner, or leave it there with the car on the side of the road and a criminal breaks in there and takes it and goes commits a crime with it?
Yeah.
If there's an abandoned or lost firearm, I don't think anybody, right, myself or you, would you secure the firearm and try to find the owner, or would you leave it there? So that's the argument. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. Well, I do disagree. In the big scheme of things, I don't agree with anybody having their firearms taken. But it is also sort of on us as people, right, to secure our belongings. And, you wouldn't leave your firearm laying loaded on the counter of your coffee table and have your kid come by and grab it, would you, right? So any reasonable person would not leave their belongings laying around of any type. But especially, you wouldn't leave a gun unsecured somewhere. So there are some very, very tiny limitations, and that's what they are referring to. The question of this Supreme Court case is whether or not the police have the authority to enter your home and take firearms under the guise of public safety or health and welfare or whatever you may deem to be the case, right? That's what we're getting at.
Which, from what I understand, maybe I'm wrong about this, but from what I understand, what I've read about it, it could have implications to the legality and constitutionality of red flag laws in general. So it's sort of like the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. It could have far-reaching implications toward red flag laws on especially a federal level, but also
which we don't agree with.
Yeah, but if you don't know that we don't agree with red flag laws, you guys have been living under a rock. You haven't seen some of our other videos, but anyways, it's like the tip of the iceberg, and it could, like I said, have far-reaching implications toward the legality of red flag laws in general, which, as we've said before, are unconstitutional, wholly. You can't have that without going through due process. But no, a court can just sign or a judge can just sign a paper and say, oh yeah, just go in there and get his guns. Based on the whim of one particular family member, whatever the case might be, whether it's true or not. It's just
the weight
crazy.
of this Supreme Court ruling is pretty substantial.
Very.
Because, yes, that tip of the iceberg could exist. So say that the Supreme Court winds up saying, okay, warrantless gun confiscation is something that under XYZ circumstance we're going to allow. Let's just say they said that, we don't really see the problem with that. Well, that opens up Pandora's box, because as you know, anytime there's a Supreme Court ruling, it has this weight behind it. People always cite Supreme Court cases when they're, trying to make their case in court because it's such a strong situation, right? The Supreme Court is the highest court. So that's dangerous, right? So later, let's just say there's some red flag situations that happen, and then let's just say victims are created, the sky falls, and all of a sudden, all right, now you've got all these people that are complaining, and they end up getting a red flag situation as high as the Supreme Court. The danger is then the Supreme Court could go back and say, well, we told you that under these situations, you could take someone's guns without due process. Well, we didn't consider this exact case when we did the other Supreme Court case. But you know what? Now, we think maybe that's probably a merited reason too. So then once you create that ripple effect, the issue is, first, it's health and welfare for your own safety or for the public good. Then it's for red flag laws, we understand it's for this reason. And then it becomes, we think the public safety at large is affected by firearms ownership being a factor amongst people in general, period. So that if you own a gun, you are a threat to public safety. Therefore, if you own a gun, that's enough reason for someone, a law enforcement officer, to take it for any reason they see fit. And what do you think that reason's going to be? Does it matter what the reason is? They can come up with any reason they want. They don't like the way you look. They don't like the way you looked at them. They don't like the way you talked to them. They don't like the fact that you're a gun owner. Oh, well, that's enough reason to take their guns.
All right, simple, all right? This is just an example, okay, of what could come to pass. Karen neighbor, okay, of yours, I hate using that term, but it's so true today. Karen neighbor sees you going inside with a rifle case.
What do you call a male Karen?
What?
Chad?
No, Chad, that's not a male Karen.
It's a male Karen.
No, it's not. All right, but anyways, she sees you going inside your house with a rifle or whatever. Say you got a rifle out of the case, whatever. It's like, oh, well, he's got guns. I'm not sure what's going on. Or she just lies to the police, like, oh yeah, he was pointing this gun, around the yard and stuff, and I don't really know what he's doing. Well, police show up, and what if you're in California or something, and the police can just say, hey, we need to check the compliance of this firearm. All right, would that be warrantless search and seizure at that point? This is what we're talking about, stuff like that. Someone reporting something that is wholly untrue, just for being nosy. And it's like, oh, well, I don't like guns, so I'm going to call the police. This is the kind of attitude and the sort of people that we're dealing with out here. And look, if you're here this long, I've got a dad joke for you. I thought the Supreme Court was just, they had the most toppings.
Oh, that's a dad joke. All right, remember back when Hillary was, when she was running for president, she was, talking about this whole thing about, if you see something suspicious, report it, right? If you see a person with a gun, report it. Remember that?
Yep.
She was real big on that. She was setting forth a very distinct precedence for the way that they approach this type of thing. They want citizens to narc on each other, to tell on each other, to be Karens, to be Chads.
Look,
they want them... They're Chads to me.
They're not.
All right, look.
Stop it.
So the Karen haircut.
Stop it.
The Karen haircut. All right, turn your head. Turn your head.
This is not the Karen haircut.
Yeah, but it's the Chad haircut.
No,
okay.
Be quiet. Hang on.
But anyway, that is the difficulty. That is the type of situation they're wanting to create. But they know that it requires those tiny little breadcrumbs to get the bird to kind of doop, 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 and then go a little closer and get a little closer, and then you snatch them like the big cat that you are. So they know in order to get those little mice and birds in close where they can catch them with their claws that they've got to pick away at this. So it's important to look at that.
All right, look, I want you to read this. I want you to read this right here. The definition of the internet slang term, Chad.
A Chad, an internet slang, is generally a sexually active alpha male. Okay.
The term has a history of being used by incels and other manosphere groups. Has become a slang term across the internet among adolescents in general to refer to particularly attractive or confident males.
It totally says that.
It does totally say that.
Okay, I digress.
I told you.
Anyway.
But look, I just want to say one last thing, okay? So, with things like this bump stock case, all right, and the possibility of it going either way, all right, this is the speck of snow or the little rock that starts an avalanche, okay? Whether good or bad. All right, things like this start these trends towards either, removing some of the restrictions on our gun rights or furthering restrictions on our gun rights. Mm-hmm. So just some food for thought, guys. I mean, these cases like this are extremely important. And the more people in our community know about these things and support these type of cases and support FPC and GOA and other organizations that are really knee-deep in the fight, actually neck-deep in the fight. Yeah. I mean,
up to their eyeballs.
Yes. So the more, the merrier, okay? I mean, we need organizations like this. We need them. We need their support. We need them out there fighting in the trenches for all of us.
100%.
Whether or not you support bump stocks or not, they are fighting for you no matter what you care about because you are a gun owner.
Right.
I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yep, and that's true. Like, we need all hands on deck with this sort of thing, right? Mm-hmm. It's very important that we show solidarity as a community. And I know I say that all the time, and I know you probably get tired of hearing it. And, you're probably thinking, all right, Eric, we get it. Quit beating a dead horse. That's the saying, right? Beating a dead horse. Well, the thing is, we all have to stick together, right? Mm-hmm. I don't care what your political attitude is, what you think about this side or that side of the fence, or where you lean politically, or whatever your political ideals are. I don't care. I don't care what you think. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, an armed citizenry is a free citizenry, and we have to fight for every tiny bit of ground that we possibly can and hold on to that ground. Mm-hmm. So anytime something sort of bounces back a little bit and goes in the other direction, with gun rights, it seems like it's always a step forward and 3 steps back. And why does it always have to be that way? Because eventually you get pushed into the wall and there's nowhere else to go. So GOA, Eric, Pratt, Jordan, all the guys over there, thank you guys so much for fighting so hard and doing such a great job. And, Tim, Military Arms Channel, who are the other plaintiffs on that? Let's see, it was, I want to give credit where it's due. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see, the Virginia Citizens Defense League, Matt Watkins, Tim Harmson, and the GOA's Texas director, Rachel Maloney. Mm-hmm. So thank you guys so much for putting yourselves out there and taking the risk and doing good things for the Second Amendment community. And also big thanks to our friends at FPC. We support GOA and FPC wholly and wholeheartedly. I donate money. I do what I can. I make videos like this. That is the best contribution I can make, is to try to put like-minded people together. And that is why social media, why I got so upset earlier about those campaign contributions, because I'm not upset. I'm crystal clear. I'm looking ahead. But that's why I feel like those things are from a social and culture aspect so important to acknowledge. Because if they can control the narrative and if they can control the flow of information, people like me won't be able to connect like-minded people and, make things happen like this, right? If it weren't for grassroots level activism and all of us calling our reps and so much support that pours in for things like this, it wouldn't happen, right? GOA is a great organization. FPC is a great organization. But without people and without, the resource of grassroots activism, they're dead in the water, just like anything else. Like, they might be the ship, but the people are the wind in the sails that make that ship move. So you've got to have that ability to look at a problem that is bigger than you and be a part of a larger solution. And our combined efforts, it can really make things happen. We do move the needle on the compass. Don't think that your voice doesn't matter and that your, advocacy doesn't matter and your ambassadorship to the Second Amendment doesn't matter.
Yep.
So that probably must wraps this one up.
I think so. I think we've said everything that needs to be said, guys.
And probably some stuff that didn't need to be said.
Well, look, I'm glad that he finally got that off his chest because I'm tired of hearing about it.
Yeah. But I hate to be that guy, but I just see the writing on the walls.
I will say one more thing about those contributions and all. For social media companies like that to contribute only to one side of the aisle, it really shows you where the leaders of those companies really stand. It doesn't mean that, all the people that work for that company feel that same way, but it shows you where the leadership wants that drive to go. I mean, you're supporting the side of the aisle that is for censorship, that is for, cancel culture, or, what would you call it? I mean, it more or less is a form of tyranny,
cancel
really.
Mob.
But just that mob mentality, the fascism, I guess you could call it. Really, cancel culture is fascism, if you really want to break it down. But that's another topic for another day. But just seeing where they contribute, their money, and they make so much money off of you, as an individual. It's not even funny, but it's disturbing, to see really where their interests lie. It's like they want more control. They want more censorship. They want more power. Ultimately, the whole goal is always power, 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 power. Look at all these crazy leftists, in Congress, okay, and in the Senate. It's just power, 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 just power hungry. They just want to remove your rights and your access to goods and services and things, and they want to gain their own. I mean, they're not really anti-gunners because they want certain people to have guns.
They want their guards to have them.
Just not you. I mean,
just not you.
We've mentioned that before too. But anyways,
I would like to quickly just also kind of piggyback on what you said there about the people at these companies not being bad people. I mean, believe me, I know it seems like there's like this horrible overlord hand reaching down and like choking you out at every turn. I know it can seem like that, and believe me, sometimes I want to believe it. But I have dealt directly, especially with YouTube, and the folks at YouTube have been pretty freaking kind and helpful to me in a lot of situations, right? And they could have totally just said, screw this guy, we don't even want to talk to him, we don't care what he has to say, but they have done a pretty good job of addressing grievances and, taking into account our point of view on certain things. So not just because a company as a whole has this sort of philosophy, right? A company philosophy, if you will, right? Or even if the owner of the company, or even the top brass at the company thinks a certain thing, it doesn't mean that everyone at that company is a terrible human being. Look, guys, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, believe it or not, yes, there are conservatives that work there. Yes, there are pro-gun people that work there. There are good people that understand and get, that side of culture. It's just that their voices and their attitudes sort of get really washed out by the huge majority of the people that work at the company. And then the issue is, too, imagine working for Google, okay, and being pro-gun or conservative, and imagine what voicing those views openly in your workplace could do for your career. If you've got this snazzy job at Google and you're getting paid that Goo money, well then, you know what I mean? You might not want to ruin that, right? So some of those people, just because of by virtue of the situation they're in, they may have to kind of, they have to grin and bear it and deal with it because they're surrounded by people that don't think the way they do. So just keep that in mind. There are good people in every different sector of our society, right? I mean, even Democrats in Congress and in the Senate, there's probably some that think more the way you do than you think they do. But anyway, I digress.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, just think about that. People can have a slight difference of opinion in a few different areas and still agree on other areas. As a society, we have really done, I believe, a terrible job in ignoring the fact that, you can disagree with a few things with your friends, right? And you can still agree with 60 or 70% and still be friends, right? But in this society, especially when you've got the internet and people can just comment and say cruel things about each other without having to suffer the consequences of getting smacked in the face, right? Well, the issue is, right, that people have lost the ability to have apathy and to sort of, look at situations from the perspective of, hey, well, I may not agree, but hey, we agree on this stuff. We can, we're still friends, right? And that's okay. But anyway, guys, have a great day. We appreciate you tuning in on the Scripe. I know we ventured into a lot of different territory, but this is a great victory on the bump stock situation, a great victory for GOA, and a great victory for the Second Amendment. And thank you guys for watching. Many more videos on the way. Definitely want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting us monthly. Also, folks who purchase man cans over on our website. We also have some great t-shirts available and other merch over on Ballistic Ink. Go pick yourself up a snazzy t-shirt or a hoodie or well, we're not in hoodie weather right now, but go pick yourself up a ball cap or anything you want. We've got sunglasses. We got body armor. We got all kind of wares that we can peddle for.
All kinds of paraphernalia for the Chads out there.
All right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
See what he did there. Have a good one. See you next time. Many more videos on the way.
See you guys.